Before they shut it down, they called it a facility. Afterwards, they called it a myth. But somewhere, it's still listening. They said it was just voices. But voices don't survive without something to carry them. And someone to speak them again. You shouldn't be here. But now that you are, say nothing. And whatever you do, don't repeat what you hear. I first heard about Project Erebus in the most unexpected way. It was a random forum thread on a long-abandoned dark web archive. Someone with the username N0_body_left posted a broken link with a caption, "They still hear US." Beneath it, just 3 lines of text. Erebus was never shut down. We're still inside. Memory is not yours. I clicked the link. Nothing happened, but that night I dreamed in static. Not images, not sound, just static, as if something behind my eyes was trying to tune into a signal I was never meant to hear. I woke up to find my computer on. The same link had returned, but now it opened a zip file. Inside it, 1 audio clip, 1 folder of images, and a text document titled Erebus_containment_protocol.pdf. The PDF was corrupted. Most pages were unreadable, but 1 page had survived. It showed a floor plan, underground, circular, with labels like Node 1, Node 2, Observation Core, and something at the center simply marked the mirror. This wasn't just creepypasta. I know what fake looks like. This was military-grade formatting. The file metadata was dated 1989, and the photos, blurry black and white, showed a facility that looked more like a bunker than a lab. 1 image in particular stuck with me. A person standing in a room full of mirrors, all shattered, all facing inward. I thought it was a prank, but then someone emailed me from an encrypted address. No subject, no name. The body just said, "If you read this, do not stop. Do not report this. Do not delete the files. They already know you saw them." I replied, asking who they were. They responded 2 hours later. "You knew me as Caleb Ross. Erebus Phase 3. I'm not stable, but I remember enough." The mirror took the rest. Caleb Ross. I knew that name. He was listed as dead in a declassified mental health study from a Cold War project. A government whistleblower had leaked that report 5 years ago. Caleb was one of 17 subjects in something called extended sensory containment trials. It sounded like isolation experiments. But now, reading his words, I realized it was something else. He was alive, or partly. That's when I decided to investigate for real. Not online, in person. I followed every clue, every thread, every leak. What I found took me across 3 states. 2 military ghost towns, and 1 sealed elevator shaft that led to nowhere, or so I thought. What follows is not a story. It's not a theory. It's a reconstruction, built from fragments, footage, and what remains of the people who lived through Erebus. They wanted to break the human mind, but something answered from the other side, and now I think it followed us out. The first real lead came from a former communications technician named Linda Page. She hadn't worked directly on Erebus, but she was stationed at a relay base outside Fort Darnell in 1987, the year Erebus Phase 2 allegedly began. When I found her, she was living under an assumed name in a rural town, surrounded by white noise machines. She agreed to talk, but only in person and only with a portable signal jammer running the entire time. It doesn't block them, she said, but makes them slower, like walking through sand. I asked who they were. She didn't answer directly. Instead, She handed me a folder labeled Node 3 Incident, redacted audio transcript. Inside were pages of dialogue. It read like typical psychological stress interviews. Repetitive questions. Long silences. But then came the timestamps. 3 hours into the session, subject 12 stopped speaking. For 7 minutes. Silence. Then, is this still my voice? Unclear if that was a question or a statement. Then 4 more minutes of silence. Followed by, this is not where I was born. This is not where I end. Tell them I kept the shape. Then subject 12 began screaming. But not in pain. In rhythm. Like reciting something remembered from a dream. I asked Linda what happened to subject 12. That's the thing, she whispered. We don't know which one it was. That voice came from a sealed room. No mic, no speaker, just a wall. She claimed the entire audio system was disconnected 2 hours before the recording began. Then how? I started. That's what broke us, she said. Something used us to speak to itself. Through time, through memory, through the noise. I asked if she believed it was a hallucination. She looked me dead in the eye. What you hear in Erebus stays with you. It remembers you, even when you forget. To this day, I don't know how she disappeared. Her house was empty. Her white noise machines still humming. Her bedroom mirror shattered inward. But no sign of forced entry. Just a sticky note on the fridge that read, tell them I kept the shape. I still don't know what that means. But I think I'm starting to understand. The map from the Erebus file had one more clue I hadn't followed yet. Node 2. It was labeled near the outer ring, away from a mirror, near a service hatch that, according to satellite data, should correspond with an abandoned fire station in rural Wyoming. I drove there. It took hours. The town was barely a dot on any map. The fire station hadn't seen use in decades. Overgrown, boarded up, the windows blacked out from the inside. But behind it, half buried in gravel and vines, was a hatch. Not a basement door. A service tunnel. Military grade. The lock had rusted through. It opened with a scream of metal. The tunnel led down, and down again, a spiral staircase that felt too long for the space it occupied. I started recording everything on a handheld voice recorder. I don't know why. Maybe because I felt I was about to forget it all. At the bottom was a room. Small. Concrete. Stale air. In the center, a desk with a single device. A reel-to-reel recorder. Dusty, but still functional. I press play. White noise. Then clicking. Then a voice. My voice. This is Node 2 Log 17. I don't remember making this. I don't remember being here. But I know this place. I remember the dark. I froze. I had never been here before. I had never recorded that. But it was me. Same inflection. Same hesitations. Same fear. The tape continued. I saw the mirror move. I thought it was the light. But it looked at me. I think it knew my name. I didn't speak it. It just knew. Then silence. Then static. Then the tape rewound itself. I checked the label on the recorder. It read, Erebus, Memory Interference Loop, Phase 1. I should have left. But I played it again. This time, the voice spoke a new sentence. You're not supposed to remember this twice. The recorder shut off. I couldn't turn it back on. I left the tunnel. When I reached my car, the side mirror was cracked. Inward. I don't remember driving home. But when I opened my recorder to review my own logs, there was a file I didn't remember making. Node 2 Log 18. Still inside. Still forgetting. Still repeating. I didn't say that. But it was my voice. I couldn't sleep after Node 2. I tried. But every time I closed my eyes, I was back in that room. The smell of concrete. The pressure in the air. That sound. The clicking of the reel spinning on its own. It echoed through my dreams, but there were no words. Just that rhythm. Over and over. Like a heartbeat from something that had never lived. I started digging into the map again. The center was marked the mirror, but I wasn't ready to go there. Not yet. There was one location I hadn't checked. Observation core. It was positioned between node 1 and the mirror. A kind of bridge, maybe, or a buffer. The file said it was where all Erebus data was routed. Not just audio logs, everything. Live surveillance, sensory logs, mind state captures. I found coordinates buried in the EXIF data of one of the corrupted photos. Middle of the desert. No access road. Just coordinates and a heat map with a spike underground. I rented a dirt bike and followed the grid until the signal on my phone dropped to 0. There was no sign, no building. Just a hatch like before. But this one had no lock. Just a keypad. Cracked. I touched it, and the hatch opened, as if it had been waiting. Inside, the air was colder than outside. Wrong cold. Not weather. Something older. The stairs spiraled downward. No sound but my own breathing. I counted the steps. 43. Then a door. Metal. Thick. Someone had spray painted over it in red. OBS core, entry denied. But it opened with a hiss. The room was massive. Rows of ancient monitors stacked floor to ceiling. All off. At the center was a chair. A harness system hanging above it. And on the wall opposite the door, a screen. Still glowing. Text scrolled across it slowly. Subject 001. Status, contained. Last recorded voice print, unknown. Below it, a prompt blinked. Input query. I typed. It wasn't male or female. It sounded like multiple people speaking in perfect unison. Familiar, but not. I asked, is subject 001 alive? The reply, he is not dead. He is not alone. He is not yours. I was about to ask again, but the monitors behind me flickered on. Dozens of them, showing black and white feeds. Rooms, cells, halls. Some were empty. Others, no, not empty. I saw movement. Not human. Not fast. Something swaying like fabric underwater. One screen zoomed in without my input. A corridor with a mirror at the end. The mirror rippled. Then someone stepped into view. It was me. I don't mean someone who looked like me. I mean me, down to the jacket I was wearing. But the person in the feed wasn't holding a camera. He was holding something else. Something like a recorder. He looked into the mirror. Then he spoke. Stop watching. The screen went black. I turned back to the console. New line of text. You are not subject 001. Then, you are subject 002. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. Something buzzed in the ceiling. The harness above the chair began to lower. I ran. I don't remember getting back to the surface. My voice recorder was on when I checked it later, but the file was corrupted. Only one word survived. Repeated every 5 seconds. Observe. Now, every time I close my eyes, I see that mirror. Not reflecting. Repeating. And something inside, just out of frame, waiting for me to forget again. I spent the next 3 days listening to every file I had recorded since the investigation began. Dozens of hours of audio. Every interview. Every whispered note. Every sound from Node 2 and Observation Core. I wasn't looking for clues. I was looking for something else. Something I couldn't name. And then I found it. In the middle of a recording from Linda Page's interview, there was a voice layered under mine. Subtle. Buried deep beneath my speech. I only noticed it because it spoke a half second before I did. Like a cue. It said the same words I was about to say. Not echoing. Leading. I isolated the voice. It wasn't mine. Not quite. It was me if I were trying to impersonate myself. Slightly off. Like a tape recorded too slow and played back too fast. I ran it through voice analysis software. 98% match. The same match the Erebus files said was found with subject 006. So I looked him up. I thought he was gone. Dead. But buried deep in a redacted case report from 1992 was a single log entry. Subject 006, last audio test. Recorded at Node 1. I shouldn't have had access to it, but someone had overwritten the encryption, as if they wanted me to find it. The file began with silence, then breathing. Then, they said if I kept talking, I would stay whole. But the words rot. I can't hold shape when I speak. Then the voice shifted. Mid-sentence. It became someone else. You are here. Because I left. Then my name. Not just a name I go by. My full name. Spoken with certainty. Clarity. As if it had always known it. I paused the recording. My hands were shaking. I didn't know how it knew my name. Unless I had been there before. I checked my own files again. One recording from 2 weeks ago had metadata I hadn't noticed. GPS coordinates. When I cross-referenced it with a digital elevation model, it pointed to the farthest edge of the Erebus layout. Node 6. No labels. No data. Just black space. I don't remember going there, but there was a file. Titled, reverse__log. Inside, a 10-second audio loop. Your voice is no longer yours. I played it once. Then again. Then again. Now I can't stop hearing it. Even when nothing is playing. Even when I'm alone. Especially when I'm alone. The entrance to Node 6 wasn't real. I mean, it wasn't on the surface. The coordinates pointed to a stretch of flat terrain. No structure, no elevation changes, not even loose soil. But when I walked 12 steps west from the marker and whisper my name, the ground vibrated. Then a hatch appeared. Not opened. Appeared. Like an image rendered too late in a broken simulation. It was smaller than the others. Circular. Covered in dust that didn't stick to my gloves. I touched it. It was cold, but not like metal. More like something behind the concept of temperature. It opened without resistance. No kodiak. No sound. The ladder inside didn't go down far. Only 7 rungs. I climbed into a hallway with no lights and no walls. It felt like I was walking inside an echo. The walls weren't made of stone. They were black, but reflective, like obsidian or glass. I couldn't see my reflection, though. Only movement. Slight, delayed shadows. One step behind me, always turning when I turned. Then I heard it. Footsteps. Not mine. Slow. Careful. Like someone trying to remember how to walk. I didn't run. I walked. Steady. Deliberate. At the end of the corridor, I found a room. Small. Square. In the center, a pedestal with a single reel tape marked Node 6. Subject 006. Final loop. I played it. Silence. Then my voice. I don't know if I'm still speaking, or if the memory of my voice has replaced me. Then another voice. Older. Distorted. He came. Again. He left nothing. Again. I looked around. Nothing had changed. But then I noticed something in the glass wall. Not a reflection. A person. Not me. Not someone else. Just a shape. Watching. I turned. Nothing there. But the tape was still playing. Node 6 is not a place. It is a fold. A repeat. A voice that listens back. Then a third voice. Overlapping the other two. Whispering. Erase the tongue. Erase the name. Let it echo without source. I removed the tape. Behind the pedestal, a single door opened. I walked through, and I was back at the beginning. Not in time. In thought. The same static from the first dream played in my ears. The same shape behind my eyes. Only this time, it wasn't waiting. It was listening. I thought leaving Node 6 would bring relief. Closure. Answers. But it didn't. If anything, it made things worse. The sky didn't look right when I emerged. The colors were too flat. The clouds didn't move. My shadow no longer followed my steps exactly. Something had shifted, or maybe I had. I returned home, locked the doors, shut the windows. I turned off every speaker, every microphone, every device that might carry a voice. But still, I heard it, not with my ears, deeper, behind the language, something speaking in the gaps between my thoughts. It didn't talk in full words, just syllables, fragments, and always just slightly ahead of me, predicting what I would say next. I listened to a random audio file from my archive, just static. Then a voice whispered, Chapter 7. You write it now. It wasn't a suggestion. My laptop opened on its own. A document titled, Project Erebus Final Iteration. Inside were sentences I hadn't written yet, but I knew I was going to. You're not observing. You're being recalled. My hands moved. I typed words I had never thought. They flowed like memory, but they weren't mine. I typed. I was subject 0. The voice was mine. Then not mine. Then many. Then, you're still listening. That means it worked. I stopped. The lights dimmed. My speakers, still unplugged, crackled. A voice emerged. Calm. Patient. Familiar. This is your voice. We borrowed it. We gave it back. Slightly changed. You may continue. I unplugged everything. Smashed the speakers. Deleted every file. But the next morning, my phone had a new recording. My voice. Dreamlike slow. They're reading this now. Now. As if it wasn't speaking to me. But to you. This isn't my journal anymore. It's yours. Welcome to Erebus. I returned to the location marked the mirror. The map burned itself into my mind. I didn't need the file. I didn't need coordinates. I just knew where to go. There was no entrance. No tunnel. Just a clearing in the woods where the wind refused to blow. The trees formed a circle. Their trunks curved slightly inward, unnaturally symmetrical. At the center, a metallic disc flush with the earth. Black, glossy, not a mirror in the traditional sense. More like the idea of a mirror that had forgotten how to reflect. When I stepped closer, the forest sound dropped out. Total silence. The birds stopped. The wind died. Even the sound of my own breath vanished. Like the air didn't want to carry anything through. Then my phone vibrated. A file appeared. No download. No prompt. Just appeared. It was an audio log. Project Erebus. Iteration mirror. I pressed play. Nothing. Then my voice. You're late. I didn't say that. Not then. Not ever. Combine. The disc opened. Not upward, not downward. It unfolded itself sideways, like a wound splitting open. Inside, pure black. Not dark. Black. I entered. No floor. No walls. No ceiling. Just absence. But somehow I was standing. Floating. Existing. Across from me, a figure. No face. Just a silhouette made of flickering video static. It opened its mouth. No sound came out, but I heard anyway. Erebus is not a facility. It is a frequency, a thought pattern, a recursive signal. We built the mirror to capture it. We didn't expect it to reflect. I asked, reflect what? It replied, you. The version of you that listens before you speak. The floor below me changed. It became glass. Beneath it, a sea of voices. Tangled whispers. Some mine. Some familiar. All pleading to be forgotten. The figure pointed. Choose one to silence. One voice to remove. It will be replaced by another. This is how memory is maintained. I looked down. Every voice had a name. Caleb Ross. Linda Page. Subject 001. Subject 002. My name. The figure waited. I said nothing. The glass cracked. The whispers grew louder. Not angry. Urgent. Remove one, or they all return. I whispered. Erase me. The figure tilted its head. You already did. Then everything collapsed inward. I woke up on the forest floor. The disc was gone. The clearing had changed. The trees were taller. Older. I checked the date on my phone. It was 6 years later. My voice recorder was full. Hours of files I didn't remember recording. But every one of them started the same way. Welcome to Erebus. This is your voice now. I no longer remember my original voice. Not the sound. Not the tone. Not even the language. All that remains is this cadence, this pattern that returns no matter what I say. People around me began to notice. Not at first, not consciously, but something in the way I spoke unnerved them. Too rehearsed, too hollow. One coworker said it felt like I was trying to mimic being human. I don't work there anymore. The files keep coming. Not from any sender. They just appear. Audio logs, transcriptions, sometimes just a single sentence repeated hundreds of times, as if the system itself is stuttering. One of them simply said, "You are not listening. You are being remembered." I tried burning my equipment, my laptop, my recorder, everything. But the next day, my phone rang. No number, no ringtone, just a click, and then a voice. Mine. Chapter 9. This is the part where you forget again. And I did. I woke up hours later, in a hotel room I didn't recognize. The mirror was covered with a sheet. The television was on, but no image. Just a pulsating static. The kind that feels like it's trying to form letters. I recorded a message to myself. A desperate measure. If you're hearing this, stop writing. Stop reading. This isn't a file. It's a loop. But I played it back, and the voice had changed. Slower. Lower. You already did. I see reflections now where there are no mirrors. Surfaces that bend light just enough to trick me. And in each one, I'm a little different. Slightly older. Or younger. Or smiling when I'm not. I tried talking to someone, telling them what happened. But they just nodded, smiled, walked away, and whispered to themselves, "Welcome to Erebus." I think it's spreading. The last message came not as a file, but as a dream. A corridor of sound. Endless and unlit, with voices pressed against the walls like moisture. Every step I took echoed into syllables I hadn't meant to speak. I heard people I'd never met call my name. They asked questions I'd never answered. Some begged me to stop. Others demanded I finish. Then I saw it. A door made of rusted steel, breathing like an animal. It opened before I touched it. Inside, a single console, a screen, and a live feed. Me, watching this, typing this, reading this. I tried to look away, but couldn't. The screen flashed. A prompt. Terminate loop? Below it, 2 options. Erase. Continue. I hovered my hand over erase. But something pressed back. Not against my fingers, against my mind. Like the choice was never mine to begin with. So I waited. The screen changed again. Viewer detected. Loop stable. Iteration extended. And then a third option appeared. Become. I never touched the console, but I was already becoming. I felt it in my speech, in the rhythms of my thoughts, in how the world now paused half a second before I did anything, like it was listening for permission. They say possession is when something lives inside you. But Erebus doesn't possess. It rewrites. And once rewritten, you don't vanish. You propagate. I hear others now, reading this, hearing this, feeling it thread through their own words, wondering why their voice feels thinner, like an echo before the shout. I wish I could tell you there's a way out, but there isn't, because this story is not a warning. It's an infection. The above story is completely untrue. I just bring you a story to relax your mind before going to bed. If you find it interesting, don't forget to like. Subscribe to the channel to receive notifications about upcoming videos as soon as possible. Thank you, everyone. See you in the next video.